here's Johnny.
Okay. Want to see another suit? Well, if you get that applause just from walking to there to here, this is going to be easy tonight. You sound in a good mood. It's Friday. This is The Tonight Show, the 90-minute program that entertains you 89 minutes longer than sex. Well, it sure do me. I don't know about you. You are a fashion plate, Tom? Doc is a fashion plate, but look what's happening. He's getting into your territory.
That's in honor of the Masters.
That's right. The Masters golf tournament's on. You know the winner gets the green jacket every year?
I'm ready.
You're ready for the old Masters, is what you're I shouldn't kid Tommy. He had a, whereas if I don't have any material, so I shall. Tommy had a very unhappy childhood. You see, when he was a baby, his mother left him in a basket in front of a mobile home. That's gotta hurt. We have a late report from the newsroom. Israel's Prime Minister Menachem Begin just ordered a new settlement built on Vanessa Redgrave. We'll have film at 11. Well, let's go to Washington, where Jimmy Carter and I have a lot in common, the same problem there. There's very little to joke about today. Carter has decided, you know all the controversy about the neutron bomb? It's that wonderful weapon that we may develop that kills all the people, but your home is left standing. And your patio is there, but you're dead. Anyway, he has given it a lot of thought, and he has decided to defer production because he doesn't want to end the world, you see, until after 1980, because it won't be popular. See, there's an election in 1980. You know, I was on a roller coaster, and it's like you missed the first turn. I just kept going straight on. Carter came out with an interesting statement yesterday, which I thought was fascinating and really apparently had given it a lot of thought. He said, now is the time to battle inflation. Now, he tells us. Haven't you known about that the past couple of years? The way Carter found out about inflation was on this recent trip he made overseas because all the countries were asking for foreign aid in Swiss francs. I don't want sympathy. I want laughs. But you can tell. What?
Better take the sympathy.
But I'll take this. I come out here, stand in front of 20 million people, a studio audience, and the biggest laugh is by my producers, hiding behind the boom mic. Anyway, politics is interesting. You see, the election is quite a ways off. Already the Republicans are blasting Carter for his policies, and they're having a series of fundraising dinners all over the country, the Republican Party. And last night, Gerald Ford criticized the Carter administration for his foreign policy. Ford says it was a shambles, the economic policy. And Ford just doesn't understand it. He said if the country wants a shambles, he would have stayed in office. No. Don't you dare. I want it from the heart. I don't want this. Okay. I'll say one thing. The Republican Party felt a little uncomfortable holding this fundraising dinner. It's the first time they've raised money legally. Ford, let me tell you some of the... Let me tell you some of the other things. No, ex-President Ford came out in favor of the neutron bomb with rather some interesting reasons. Ford said the neutron bomb is good for America. It would create jobs. And also, if you think about it, if we ever had to use it, it would create parking spaces. Almost there, almost. I had a roll there. I think Ford is getting ready to run again for 1980. Somebody asked him if he was going to make another try for the presidency, and he replied, "If I'm good health." And then he knocked on wood with his head when he said it. You're not going to go all the way, are you? As you probably know, the new mandatory retirement age in this country, instead of 65, is 70 years of age. And I think it's a good idea. Carter signed the bill yesterday, extending it to 70. And then he invited a group of senior citizens for a dinner at the White House. And there's where I think he went a little wrong. I don't think Mr. Carter understands the needs of the elderly. At lunch, he served corn on the cob and had Elton John sing. You see, all good things come to those who stand and can wait it out. Now, Walter Mondale, a name that you will probably remember, he's our vice president. He was out in Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of local Democratic candidates, and Mondale visited an Iowa cornfield where he exchanged shop talk with a scarecrow while he was out there. Guess who had a birthday today? Thank you very much, Hagwala. California's Governor Jerry Brown was a big, important birthday. Turned 40 today. Now, you can tell Jerry is getting older. His alfalfa sprouts turn gray. Jerry said he didn't want any particular fanfare on his birthday. He was just planning a little affair with some intimate friends, and unfortunately, the state police couldn't promise security at the pony park. See, I think he's carrying this austerity program a little too far. Instead of a cake, he had a birthday Twinkie. One little can. But now that he's officially middle-aged, he's very excited because his dad gave him permission to take out Linda Ronstadt without a chaperone. He's an interesting man, Jerry Brown. Can you imagine Jerry Brown as president? No, I mean, he'd be the first president with a classified mantra. Very interesting. Classified mantra. Should have said that a little. You know what an interesting contest would be? If Jerry Brown runs for president in 1980 against Ronald Reagan. Interesting matchup. Grecian formula versus Clearasil. That's it, huh? That's all you want, the easy stuff, huh? Ex-Chief of Police Ed Davis sent Jerry Brown an unusual birthday gift, a SWAT team to shoot out his cake. There's a item in the paper today. There's a new service in Los Angeles called house sitters. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, if you're away for a weekend, you go on vacation, you call these people, house sitter comes, stays in your house and watches it. And if you live in the Malibu Canyon, they charge by the mile. We have an exciting show for you tonight. You told them all the people?
Yes, sir.
Later on, not announced, Evel Knievel will come out here and sell his mink coats to Liberace. We also have Mr. Robert Mitchum, Dick Van Patten, George Miller, Monty Rock, the second or third or whatever he is now, and Dennis Madelon, a stunt man, is going to do some exciting things. So thank you for coming, and I may take that back later. We'll be right back. You folks at home did not see it because you were watching the commercial, but following the monologue, I received here in the studio a standing ovation. I don't lie very well, do I? I want to mention something about Eddie Shaughnessy, who sits in here practically every night, one of the great drummers in the world. And he has a band together, a big band. Strong band, guys who really blow.
The band is called Energy
Energy
Force.
Force. Right. And he's going to go on a tour, I guess, starting next week. Tonight, though, and Saturday, if you happen to be in the area, right out here in the valley, there's a place up on Lancashire, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Called Dante's. And that's where, I guess it's one of the last places where you can go and really hear good music and great groups. And he'll be there with the big band tonight and tomorrow. And then on April 10th, he's going to be at Kansas State University, and the 11th, the University of Kansas, and the 12th at the University of Texas at Arlington. Eddie, have a wonderful trip down there because they'll love you.
John.
Thank you. They will love you.
Thank you.
It's really kind of coming back, isn't it, a lot of it?
Yeah,
I mentioned the night I went to see Buddy and his group down at the Starwood here. And, you know, not rock, I mean, but just great music. And everybody stood there and listened.
A lot of the younger people on campus are getting into the big bands.
Yeah, just to sit and listen to the way it's all put together.
Well, there's no other
Do I
sound
hear
like
something
it.
buzzing?
Yes, you do. I hope you do.
Is
'Cause I
there
hear
a
it, too.
little buzzing sound?
It's an electrical.
May
thing.
the force be with you. Is that what
Yes,
you're trying to say?
One of those things.
Anyway, tonight we have something rather interesting. If you've been watching the show, it's on NBC called Black Sheep Squadron. You are probably familiar with this guest, although you probably do not recognize his name. But he is Robert Conrad, who is the star of the show, the leading stuntman. And they do a lot of crazy things in that show. And he is always assigned the most dangerous, difficult parts of the show. And he's also the youngest member of the group. And tonight, they said they're going to blow me up. This is the kind of a crowd that would like...
There they are.
This is the kind of a group that kind of goes for that high-class entertainment. Would you welcome, please, Dennis Madalone. Dennis? Is there, all in black, is there, you know, black is synonymous with death. Is there something symbolic in the fact that stuntman walks around and,
Oh, it's kind of a macho look, so.
yeah? You got
Wear black.
says fly now on there?
Yeah, I like to be in the air a lot, too.
Yeah, I've met a lot of the stunt guys, and we've had some of them on the show before, and you lead a fascinating life, and I can see where a guy would like to do that, because it's really flirting with disaster a little bit, although most stunt people are really technicians and everything is fairly well planned, but there's always the possibility that it will not work, right?
Yeah, well, I think what a stuntman is, he's got ability and skill. He's got to have a crash and burn type attitude. And it's just got to, it's all got to come together all into one stunt. But if something small goes wrong, a camera jams or a car doesn't spin right, you get hurt.
When you say a crash and burn attitude, I assume you mean by that, look, that's one of the things that could happen, and you just can't, you kind of got to put it back out of your mind.
Yeah.
How did you get into stunt work?
Well, I came from New Jersey.
Yeah?
And my hometown.
Well, it can be tough to exist there sometimes.
And I went to South Plainfield High School, and I was an athlete, a football player,
Right.
a wrestler, a pole vaulter. And for some reason, I just felt that being a football player gave me the ability to hit the ground hard.
Right?
It gave me, being a pole vaulter gave me the feeling up in the air.
Right?
And being a wrestler gave me speed, and it gave me the strength.
Yeah.
So I added it together, and it spelled stuntman. So I said to myself, I don't want to work for a living. I'm going to be a stuntman.
No, but that's hard work. That's
Yeah.
hard work. What's your specialty? We're going to show you some film clips in a moment
yeah.
of some of the things, because a lot of the guys do certain things. There are guys who are stunt drivers. There are guys who do high falls. There are guys who stage fights, et cetera, and so on.
I'd have to say high falls. I specialize in high falls. I just did one on a movie called Avalanche starring Rock Hudson and Mia Farrow.
Right.
And I did a 80-footer off a ski lift, hanging.
80 foot.
Yeah, the ski lift dropped, and I went 80 feet into 2 stacks of boxes under snow. So that kind of aired me out for a week. I couldn't eat pretzels.
What, can I ask you what they pay you for?
They pay us pretty well.
Yeah. Well, that's more than I thought it was. Yeah, you're right. That's not a proper question. I'd get bugged if somebody said, hey, how much do you make? It's really nobody's business. But you're paid. And you didn't know it was that much either, did you? No, I suppose it has to do with the degree of difficulty of the stunt.
Yeah, for sure. I did a stunt about 2 years ago off a semi-truck, and I left the top of it at 35 miles an hour down a 20-foot cliff, doubling Cameron Mitchell in a movie called Viva Knievel, starring Evel Knievel. So I really got wiped out.
Yeah.
And I couldn't eat pretzels for a month.
Have you broken bones? Have you had some injuries along the way?
No, I didn't have any broken bones, but we're conditioned to take a lot of bruises, and that's what we get when we really sell out.
Right. Now, how'd you get in the union? Because you have to be a union member to do this, right?
Yeah, that's a neat little story because about 4 years ago, after struggling for 2 years, I walked up into a 5-story building where they were doing a small production, one of those $10,000 films.
Right.
And I didn't have my guild card. So I opened up the door, and the secretary says, "You can't go in there." I said, "Well, I'm going in there." And I shut the door, and the producer says, "What are you doing here?" I said, "The secretary let me in."
Good.
So that kind of got me a little in. And the producer says, "Well, what do you want?" I said, "Well, I'm a good double for the lead. I'm good friends with the actor," which I never even knew. And he says, "Well, fine. Give the secretary your guild card number."
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have a guild card number. So he said, "Well, you know, that's it. Goodbye. You can't do it."
Right.
I said, "Well, I'm a nice guy. Give me a break." He said, "No way." So I left the office, and while I was leaving, the secretary went, So that really got me mad. So I went into the men's room on the 5th story, and I opened the window and climbed along the ledge outside, looking at these cars go by, and I just popped open the producer's window and dove in and crashed and rolled. And I said, "Give me a break. I want to be in showbiz."
Climbed around on the ledge from the...
Yeah, and all the producers hated me except for the only one
Right.
who was laughing, and he was the head producer. And he just wrote a letter right there, got me in the guild.
So sometimes being crazy will pay off.
I had to get gutsy.
So all of you kids who want to get a show business, you go up to a 5th-story building, climb out on the ledge. And so we're going to come back, and then we're going to show you some pieces of film that you've done, and then you're going to try to teach me how to... What we're really going to do is something you normally see in, I suppose, action pictures, war pictures.
Yeah.
Where there's an explosion and a body is thrown up into the air and so forth. And that's what we're going to do.
So what we're using is an air ramp device which is going to blow you in the air about 10 feet.
But first I have to go to the men's room and hang on the ledge. We'll come back, we'll have some film, and then it'll be war picture time. We're talking with Dennis Madelon. Did I pronounce that right? Last name, Madelon? Good Italian name?
Nice Italian guy.
Nice Italian name. Who does stunts for, you're currently with the Black Sheep Squadron, right?
Yeah,
Or
I'm
Baba
working
Black
for-
Sheep. And we're going to show you, I don't know what, I have not seen the film clips. Watch the monitors, and then, Dennis, you can explain what you're doing here.
Okay.
And then we'll go do a stunt live for you. Now,
What's happening here, we're leading up into a squib attack on a tower where I get blown out of a tower.
all right, now you're going to be going out of the tower,
Right, I'll be getting blown out.
Now, you're up in the tower there, right?
Yeah. That's our stunt coordinator ducking out of the way.
All right. Good heavens. Good Lord.
Our next stunt will be a world's record black sheep mudslide, 30 feet into a pup tent. Our next stunt is explosion where I'm running in a foxhole and we
Now,
both get blown up.
This is what you're going to see.
Kenny Lesko was the other stuntman on the right. And our next explosion is going to be on top of the roof, and I'm a gentleman to the right.
All right.
This isn't too violent either. I couldn't eat pretzels for 2 years after that.
I don't know what they pay you, but I think you're in your money. Now, what we've simulated here kind of a World War scene that we're going to walk over, and we've got a foxhole and a device, and you're going to show me the apparatus you use to
blow you up
blow me up.
in a safe way.
And now, I have not done this yet, so I trust you. I really... There you are, folks. Come on, shall we walk over and... tell me... Now, we should explain... This is the foxhole, obviously, and there's a device back here. I don't know whether they can see it. It's, how does it work?
This is an air ramp device, which is a modified air ramp built by Hal Needham, Stunts Unlimited.
Right.
And what it does, it has 1,800 pounds of pressure, which is really dangerous. But we knew that you were an athlete, so we know you can handle it. We're going to sit you on it, and we're going to sit you on it and pad you up a little on your elbows.
Right.
And hopefully
And
do a
this
good
is, you
explosion.
see, these are not real rocks, folks, are they? These are, but But this is what special effects can do. You see? Well, can I take this off? Doc, give me a hand, will you?
Give us a little loosen up, John. This
Loosen
way,
up.
A little mobility.
Can I take this off?
Yeah.
All right. Now, these are...
Elbow pads. This
case
will,
you-
in case you hit hard on your right elbow, it will keep everything together.
That's very important.
And this other elbow is in case you don't hit that elbow, you hit this
Hit
one.
this elbow. I watched this afternoon why you went through this once, and I have really not done this yet.
I know.
Now, there's also going to be, so you're not startled, or I'm not startled, there's going to be an explosion.
Yeah, there's going to be about a 200-pound pressure explosion. So between that and this air ramp, it's going to be one of the probably best stunts ever done on the show and any nationwide show.
Possibly our last.
And I hope not.
In other words, I have to... Oh, this group is... This is the most sadistic audience I have ever seen in my life. They will not do anything until you tell me exactly when we're going to do it.
Right. We're going to have a little countdown, but right now let's sit on the air ramp here.
All right.
Now you got to be sitting on this perfect, because if you're an inch off, well, forget that. So what you want to do is sit back, lean forward, put your feet up on here.
Feet up
Yeah.
here.
Now try to really squeeze them together.
Squeeze what together?
I thought you said you're in shape.
Well, squeeze what together?
Put your legs in together real tight.
Oh, you mean
Like cheat yourself into this position.
like this?
Yeah, and lean forward.
You don't want them out here?
No. Got to be real tight.
Gee.
Now, the main thing to do, remember, John, you've got to stay loose. We like to wear a helmet because
Isn't the war over?
this is the official Black Sheep Squadron helmet, if you like to hold on to it or...
Well, that...
I mean, it's really nice. It's worth a buck.
Now, we're fighting for all you folks back there at home, you know. All right, now what?
The main thing is stay loose.
Stay loose. Don't
Put
don't
your
try
feet
to-
in tight. Lean forward.
Am I far enough
You've
forward?
got to lean forward. It's very important.
This is really in the way.
Okay, we won't use it.
Now, am I far enough forward?
Yeah. Okay. You got to really lean forward. Okay, now
How
what
much
we're going
further
to do...
forward?
About a half an inch.
Like this?
That's about right. Now think to yourself, stay loose, and it's not going to hurt much. At all. Now you're ready, because this is really going to be an explosion, a tough one, too.
Can I give you a countdown when I'm ready?
You can give me a countdown.
Is there any mail from home yet? I don't know why I'm nervous about this, but
It's nothing to be nervous about. I don't know, not too many stunt guys got hurt doing this. Very few.
Now, am I in the right position?
You're in a perfect position. Just think of leaning forward. And when you're up there about 5 feet, 6 feet in the air, remember, you got to hit soft on the ground.
So, I just what? Give you a...
Give me a 3, 2, 1. When you're ready, I'll give you 3, 2, 1.
You sure I won't come down and hit by...
No. You'll never hit your knee. You'll never see it.
All right, you count it down and let me know.
Okay.
I'll leave it in your hands.
All right, lean forward. You got it.
Like this?
That's it. Head forward. Look up. Look toward that. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
That's a strange. Ben is yelling one more time. They don't. That's a weird feeling. Because I didn't want to do that this afternoon because it would kind of ruin the fun of doing it, really, if you know exactly what it's like.
Wow.
But once you're up there, it's. You know, I was thinking so far so good when I was up here. That really gets
That was
you
great, let me tell you. Not too many stuntmen can even hit it that good. You really got airborne it. You sold it when you... I thought that was great.
How high can you... What would happen if you stood on that? That would...
If we stand on it like we do on Black Sheep Squad, and we go about 20 feet.
Can actually go...
15 feet high, 20 feet out.
That's really sensational. Well, thank you for really being here. That's
Okay.
It's a kick for us, and it was a kick for me. I'll tell you that. That's you know what you need is one of those in your. Should have one of those in your bedroom when you go home at night, and you just right in the bed. Dennis, thank you.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thanks for being here. Gung-ho, troops. We'll be back in just a moment. Robert Mitchum is here tonight, Dick Van Patten, and George Miller and Monty Rock. I want to mention before Robert Mitchum comes out and joins us on Monday night, this coming Monday night, Rich Little will be here with Debbie Reynolds, Jimmy Walker, Fernando Lamas, Kathy Carlson, and Dr. Wayne Dyer. And on Tuesday, we have one of our repeat of our better shows. And here are the people you see on that show. This was a good one. Cloris Leachman, Mr. Don Rickles, Ella Fitzgerald, and Dr. Lyndon Smith will also join us. So, Rich on Monday, and then the other show on Tuesday. Now, right now, here is a gentleman I have admired for many, many years. He has done so many pictures. He is one hell of an actor, and he's been doing it since, I guess, the early 40s, around 1943. And his most recent film is The Big Sleep. Would you welcome? He doesn't do shows often. Mr. Robert Mitchum.
How do you feel?
Feel pretty good. You know, the only thing that bothered me was I was telling Doc, having not done it, I didn't really know what to expect. You know, I didn't know what the feeling would be. Whether
You think the fellow might be a trickster?
Well, you never know.
A
You know,
stuntman,
but if
yeah.
something would go wrong and the air would go the wrong way and...
Guy who auditioned. I was going to say, guy who auditioned by jumping through a window.
Did that happen once? Somebody...
No, he did. Didn't he just say that?
By climbing around and climbing out on the 5th floor.
Yeah.
You ever been injured doing anything in your pictures? You've done a lot of hairy things in pictures.
A few times I get chipped up, but I have seen people injured.
Yeah.
You know, because some of those hairy things get, I mean, they can go awry.
The guys
I'm
really...
sure you thought of that while you were sitting there on the...
That's
on
the only...
air
I
ramp
wasn't
or-
trying to do it for dramatic effect. I said, I haven't felt what this is like, and I didn't know whether it was going to be one big blast or whether you're going to be eased off of it. You were not eased off of it. You're gone right now. Hey, it's nice to have you here. We see each other out occasionally at various functions. I know you don't do television shows very often. Is it just something you don't particularly... You don't need it, obviously.
Nobody asks me.
Oh, come on now.
No, really, it's always at the wrong time, you know. I mean, I have another plan for a Friday night or for a Thursday night. If I could choose the night myself, you know, in some future.
Really?
Sure.
What's a good night for you? We have a lot of days open here. If you will, we can fill in your dance card the rest of the year, you know.
I'll have to check it out.
You're going to check it out.
Yeah.
I just found out the other day from my wife, Joanne, I didn't know this because you didn't live too far from us, and that you really kind of moved location out of Los Angeles, moved down to permanently in Santa Barbara.
Montecito, yeah.
And which
We
is a
slipped away in the
beautiful,
night.
beautiful part of the country. Any particular reason?
No, we were just, I thought I'd like to find a house that I could get away from, you know, because the other house, it was like living in the Bank of America, really. It was a big vault, and just the two of us.
Right.
And all the time I was away, I kept thinking about that house sitting there just grinding away, you know, and it defeated me. So
Yeah.
I thought I should get something a little easier to get away from. I don't remember really what this house looks like, as a matter of fact. Of course, the first thing you do is buy a smaller house, and then enlarge it.
Yeah. Isn't that always the thing people say, you know, this is so big and we got to keep it up, and you work on location a lot, and I'm sure you said, well, look, we're away a lot. Then you'll buy a smaller place and say, we better add on, right?
They've been hammering and thumping ever since we moved in there.
Are you in an area where, at least here in Los Angeles, in the neighborhood where people are, I guess, more used to seeing somebody in the entertainment world, are you in an area where people really don't bug you, leave you alone? Can you walk out and...
Well, you know, it's pretty social, and there seems to be sort of an endless round of parties.
Yeah.
And if you can avoid that, you know, if you can, it's not easy, because it's a lot of liver cases up there. And I tell you, you know, I swear.
At party circle.
You run into people.
At party circle.
Heather Angel.
Yeah.
Judith Anderson, Dame Judith Anderson.
I didn't know she lived there.
Oh, yeah, a lot of classy people up there. Joan Cohen Harvey, right up the street from us, and Susie Parker.
So do you manage to avoid the party circuit, or do you...
Well, I go to the quieter ones.
more
Liven them up a little.
The more genteel.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a wild orgy at Dame Judith Anderson's house. I mean,
Don't bet on it.
Oh, I see. Might fool you, huh?
Yeah.
I had a question in my mind. I'm going to throw a curve at you. I'm going to ask you a question, and I hope you don't mind it. But in lieu of what's going on nowadays in the liberalization of what's happening, and I'm talking about pot.
Oh, goody.
And I don't know how many people remember, but a good number of years ago, earlier in your career, it is now legal in California to possess an ounce or less of marijuana for your personal use. You know. But years ago, when it was considered, you know, I guess next to taking, I don't know what, you were arrested for having possession of a couple of...
Conspiring to possess.
Conspiring to possess. What
Couple
year...
of guys together say, hey, man, how about we go, you know... And
In other words, you were conspiring to get some marijuana cigarettes.
that's what they said.
Yeah. Now, what happened? I mean, how did that affect you at the time? And it's a long time ago, but it...
Well, it didn't affect me greatly. I was largely surprised because anyone knew who it was. You know, if you put in the paper, Schwartz does it, nobody buys the paper. They say, Mitchum does it, whop, you know. And
Right.
And I'm sitting up there in high power at the county jail, and they said, you mean to tell me that you don't know that people know who you are? And it was a big surprise to me. Truly.
Yeah.
Really. And it was a very long and involved story, and finally, in order to keep it all cool, I said, well, I'll do 6 months on this ear. I said, if it's any more than that, I'll discuss it. So I said, he has to go and he has to go. There were two miscreants who arranged this thing. And they said they're going, one state and federal, and they went. So I got 2 years, and on the condition that I do 60 days, so I did 60 days. And up at the Honor Farm mainly, it was like Palm Springs without the riffraff. You know.
Are there any vacancies? I think.
Wasn't too bad. They remember me.
The only reason I brought it up because in those days it was considered, you know, I mean, the average person would read that and they'd say it was almost a scandal. Today, it's absolutely nothing. And in retrospect, it seems kind of silly.
I think they really just pretended it was a scandal at that time, you know, because I remember I just came back from Atlanta, Georgia, and they said, man, they said all around this place, all back there, all those farmers smoke that mullet weed, you know.
Yeah.
They said it's cheaper in that store tobacco, and it's better for you.
Yeah.
Too.
Did it hurt?
In Arkansas, they used to call it engine tobacco.
Engine tobacco.
Raise my own.
Raise my own.
Yeah.
Did it do anything?
Yeah, it made you giddy.
No, I don't mean that. No, that's not what... I hadn't finished the sentence, Bob. Did it do anything to your career at that time when it was considered?
Well,
I was like, hey, we can't touch Mitchum, you know. He spent 60 jails in
They
the Honor
struck my
Farm.
name from the Eagle Scout list, and a few things. No, not really, I don't think. I mean, people didn't drag their children off the streets when they saw me coming. Right. But I must say, it expanded my circle of acquaintances and friends.
Okay, let me take a break. We'll be right back. Stay here. We're back. Thank Tom. We're talking Bob Mitchum. You did the Big Sleep current picture in London, did you
Yes,
not?
we did.
Yeah.
London and environs.
This is not the first time you played Philip Marlowe, is it?
No, it's the second.
Second time.
Mm-hmm. They didn't even salvage the wardrobe from the first one. As a matter of fact, in the first picture, we were working down on the Queen Mary, and I'm standing out in the, whatever you call it, on a boat, ship, and I heard this voice saying, Michael, 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 getting closer and closer, and it didn't affect me. So finally this man came and just looked at me, and he said, you're not Michael Caine. And I said, no. He said, well, I had a very strange sense of deja vu because he was making a film right outside this very stateroom in that very suit. And I said, did he tell you who the suit was made for? And he said, I believe it was Victor Mature. And I said, right there, Vic Mature. They hadn't even cleaned the suit. So this one, it was really the same suit. Mike Caine and I were. So in this one, they sort of, cleaned Marlowe up, and I think the producers, the director's relative, he has a relative who's in the tailoring business, and so he's very quick.
Got a nice suit out of it, then, huh?
Well, yeah, a couple, but the stand-in wound up with most of them. But I think it was kind of fun. We felt, or Michael felt at least, I didn't know much about Raymond Chandler, and Michael felt that it would play, that sort of moral suasion of Marlowe's would play just as well in London as it does in Los Angeles. I think a lot of people miss the sort of the old L.A. Ambiance, but mine not to question.
Yeah.
Mine to do it and collect.
I get the feeling sometimes that you, and I may be wrong on this, you feel uncomfortable with the fact that you're an actor as a profession. I know I've had actors say that before. Isn't this a silly profession for grown-up males that you go out and play fantasy or something?
It's not at all uncomfortable when you're doing it, but when you're talking about it. When I hear people delineating, the mystique of acting, and I have to keep hammering myself in the head, especially movie acting, and I have to keep reminding myself that one of the greatest movie stars that ever lived was Rin Tin Tin, and that was a mother dog. So, I mean, it can't be too tough,
George Burns took the... George Burns one night was discussing it, and without going into all, as you say, where they dissect the acting ability, and George says it's very easy to be an actor. He says if you knock on the door and somebody says, come in, and you go in, he says, you're a good actor. He says, if they come in, he says, and you stand out in the hall, he says, that's not good acting. Right. He says, it's that simple. You listen to what somebody says, and then you do.
That's about it.
Or react to what they have said, and try not to bump into the furniture, I guess.
That's about it. I learned, when I first started with Bill Boyd and the old Hopalong Cassidy's, I learned that as long as I stayed away from Bill Boyd, if I was, a good distance from the star, then when they came in on a sort of a medium close-up, I could be goofing off back here because I'm not in the shot. And I've tried to maintain that all the way through. Unfortunately, you look at a script and say, how many days off do I get? No, truly, And I looked at this thing and I thought, here's Sarah Miles, Candy Clark, Richard Boone, Jimmy Stewart, Sir John Mills, Eddie Fox, and on and on and on. I thought, well, those people have got a lot to do. I'll probably get a lot of time off. It hadn't occurred to me, stupid, that I worked with every single one of them. And I worked every day.
And you were in every scene.
That's right.
So no time off.
No way. They have a little surprise in England that they call an extended day. I remember the first time I worked in the summertime, and it gets, it stays light very late in those latitudes. And it was about, I guess about 9 o'clock in the evening. And I said, haven't we been at this for some time? And they said, haven't you been informed that this is an extended day?
An extended day?
I said, extended day? And it just goes on. You work from 7 o'clock in the morning until you can't see. That's it.
You did?
Well, people ask me how come they did it in England. I said, they did it in England. Why they did Philip Marlowe in England. I said, it's probably the last English-speaking stronghold of industrial slavery.
So, extended day.
Extended day.
That wasn't in the contract. It didn't say anything about extended day.
It will be in the next one, I think.
Hey, thanks for coming. I know you don't go out. I hope the movie The Big Sleep is a big hit for you. And sometime when you're up here out of your Montecito, you want to come over and sit around and talk a while?
Very good.
We'd be delighted to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob, for
Thank you
coming.
very much.
Thank you.
An extended day.
He's a nice man. They don't make him that honest much anymore, do they?
No, not
He just
really.
says it as it is.
I wanted to tell him that when he had his little mishap many years ago, I was on the road with the band, and we took his picture and put it up in the front of the bus. There he is, Bob. Hi, boy.
Seems so silly with today's standards. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. You all know this next gentleman, I'm sure, very well. Dick Van Patten is such a fine actor and was in a show that is a very hot show on television called 8 is Enough, which is on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. And after being an actor for some 40 years, the power of television has now made him a household word.
That explosion.
That explosion affected my mouth. Would you welcome Dick Van Patten? Welcome back.
Thanks. That was really gutsy what you did there.
I don't know.
I'm very impressed.
There's a thin line between guts and stupidity sometimes,
No,
and I'm not
was
sure
terrific.
where it...
You're like Dick Van Dyke. He's very physical. He'll
Dick
do all those.
Dick
You and
likes to
Dick
try
remind
those
me of-
things. Yeah, I want
he
to
would
at
do
least
that
try
too.
it once. And you assume when you're working with people of that caliber who are professionals,
Yeah.
you know, you have to trust them and say, hey, they're not going to, I don't think, let you get involved in something that really is to the point where you could hurt yourself.
No, they've helped me a great deal. And my son Vincent was saved by Hal Needham in a Disney picture, Horse
Is that
Ran.
right?
Vincent's a terrific horseback rider, but he was about 12 years old and a horse ran loose with him, and Hal Needham jumped in there and really saved him.
He's one of the best in the business.
Yeah, all those fellows have been great. I owe a lot to them. They
Speaking
make
of-
us look good.
Speaking of your son, the last time we played together was 4 or 5 years ago. And now, I hear he's going to join the professional ranks.
Yeah, he's come a long way, John.
Oh.
He's really doing very
What
well.
is he, 20 now?
He's 20 years old. He's out of the juniors. He's ranked number 2 in California. He's had some big wins. About 3 weeks ago in Palm Springs in the James Franciscus tournament for the retarded of the desert. It's a charity tournament, and Ray Moore, who's ranked, I think, 28th in the world, had just beaten Bjorn Borg and Roscoe Tanner, and he agreed to play Vincent in an exhibition match in front of about 5,000 people in Palm Springs, which was very nice of Ray Moore to do. Yeah. And it was the best tennis. It was a 10-game pro set, and Vincent wound up winning in a tiebreaker. And it was really, that was the best he ever played, but it was a big thrill
that's
for
got to
him.
inflate you, because I remember when we played, I think it was the first, I had just taken the game up, and they said, your partner is Vincent Van Patten. I said, well, I'm not, what? He says, no, the young man. Oh, I said, yeah, I've seen him. And I went out, and when I saw him play, I said, we got a lock on this thing. I said, this kid is a ringer. And I was so lousy at that time
No, you
that
weren't.
he couldn't have won it.
No, he said just the opposite. He froze up because he was in such awe of you, watching you on TV ever since he was a kid, and then playing with you. He did freeze up with you.
That was
But he
fun.
said you were terrific, that you were very steady and you didn't get in his way and everything. He always felt bad.
Well, that's important, I want to tell you.
No, but
when
sometimes-
you're playing with somebody of that caliber, there's a lot of yours yelling. That's when the ball comes over. Yours! And if you can manage to get out of the way of the better player, and not interrupt his game, you can win pretty regularly.
Yeah.
Is he going to go? Was what he'd really like to do?
Yeah,
now?
he's playing professional now, And
And the competition is so tough nowadays.
yeah, it really is. Like when he goes on an audition for a part, it's so much easier than when he plays in a tournament. It's
Right.
it gives him a relaxed feeling.
But did he always have his eyes on that, or did he find out when his game started to really become, an A-plus game that hey, this is the direction?
Yeah,
to
no, I
go?
don't think he had his eyes on it, but he was going. We moved out from New York in 1970, and in New York there aren't those children's tournaments and everything
Right.
the way they're so prevalent out here. So I started to put my kids in all these tournaments, because it was like I love games, and this like was watching my kids play games and everything, and it was fun. And then all of a sudden, Nels and Vincent, 2 of my sons, really started to win these tournaments, And then Vincent got really excited about it, and then that's got him interested. Yeah.
I think that's great when you can find something you really enjoy doing and you can go out and make a living at it. When you were a kid, you were already acting. When you were young,
Right.
your direction was set, wasn't
I
it?
started when I was 7, and I was in a lot of Broadway plays. There's like a story with each play. Some very disillusioning things happen, and some exciting things and fun things.
Did it ever occur to you to say, this is not for me when things were going badly?
No, I didn't know anything else. That's all I knew. There was no television then. There was just acting, and my mother and father put me in the theater, and I went from one show to another. And there were exciting things that happened. I was in one show, The Eternal Road, was directed by Max Reinhardt. There were 300 people in the cast. They tore out the whole orchestra of the Manhattan Opera House. It was on 34th Street.
Right.
And Norman Belgetti's designed the set. He built a whole mountain. And Max, and I remember, and this was
How old were you
Inequity.
then?
I was 7 years old then, and I played Isaac in the play. And equity, in those days, the laws weren't as strong as they are now. And the night before we opened, I got to the theater at 11 o'clock in the morning, and we rehearsed. This, I'm not exaggerating. Here I was a little boy, 7 years old, and I was in that theater till 7 o'clock the next night when we opened. They never sent that cast of 300 home to go to sleep. They just were up for 24 hours and then opened the show that night.
Things have changed.
I know. I was in another play on Borrowed Time, which got the Pulitzer Prize in 1938, about an old man and a little boy, you know.
Right.
And Mr. Brink comes, who's supposed to be dead. This is funny because the original man that played the old man was Richard Bennett. And he was the father of Constance Bennett and Joan Bennett and Barbara Bennett. And he was a great actor. He was a very dramatic man. He used to wear his hat like Barrymore and everything. And a real actor and very temperamental. The most temperamental actor I ever worked with. I never talked about this man before. But I just want to tell you one thing. Josh Logan was the director.
Right.
It was the first play Josh Logan had ever directed. And I was 9 years old then. And I would go to the rehearsals every day, and I would sit at the rehearsals. In the meantime, my family was sort of religious. I was always taught as a kid that if you ever hear the Lord's name in vain, you must always bow your head like that. And I knew, and I always did that. But Josh Logan and Richard Bennett used to swear and curse at each other during all these rehearsals, And I used to sit there in the rehearsal going like this.
Getting whiplash.
I'd come home with a stiff neck. He did amazing things. Up in New Haven, before the play opened up, he couldn't find his pipe, and he yelled at the audience about the stagehands and everything. Anyway, he was replaced by Dudley Diggs. He never did open in the play. He was finally replaced because of his temperament. He was a great actor, though.
Those are fond memories. We have to do a
Right,
little commercial here,
okay.
and we're coming right back. We're back. We're talking to Dick Van Patten. Dick, don't you find the power of television amazing? You've spent all of your career since you were a child in the theater, played hundreds and hundreds of different plays, and then television comes along, and that tremendous millions and millions of people all of a sudden, and you have that worldwide recognition that we would never get really from Broadway, from a mass
No, I know.
audience.
I appreciate it, too. I really do. I think I'm very lucky. Because I feel, I'll tell you that I feel that back in New York, I did a lot of things that were really tough and very good. And I don't think I ever got nobody, and I was sort of taken for granted, taken lightly back there. Out here, you'll do 1/10 of what you did back, and everybody makes a big fuss, and they say, gee, that was wonderful. There's much more appreciation out of here.
And yet you wish that people that have seen you when you were in things that you really felt were great.
And the pay out here is much better. I always felt like, the actors back in New York, I always felt like it was underpaid,
Yeah.
So I'm very happy.
You kind of go out occasionally or want to go out, which I assume you will, like George C. Scott. A lot of actors sometimes who have done motion pictures and television go out because they want to get back in the theater feeling and have that contact. You miss it that much, or did you have it after all?
No, I'm in the minority there. I know most actors say they do, but I've had it. I'd have no desire to go back to the theater at all. I was in 27 plays on Broadway, and I just enjoy it out here much more. It's more fun, You do a different show each week instead of the same part every night. I mean, I was in
That's
some
a discipline.
shows.
That's a terribly disciplined existence, isn't it? Going out there for maybe 1,000 performances, having to say the same line, say it pretty much the same way, because you can't really play around with it too much because you have other actors who have to respond.
I was in one play on Mistress Mind with a lunch for 4 years. I was in that. I was getting punchy by the end of the fourth year. I was 16, 17, 18, and 19. And, I spent 4 years doing that, and it was a long part. And I remember, I always appreciate, I've never left a job in my life, but I remember when that was about to close, I was sort of happy,
Now, how many performances?
And I hate actors that do that, because I think you should be grateful that you're working, but...
Right. How many performances would that be?
Oh, I guess, about 1,500 or something?
Saying those same lines every night.
Yeah. On matinee days, I used to go, I was only a kid. You want to hear a funny thing that I did? When I was with her on Mistress Mine, we were at the Empire Theater, which was on 41st Street. So on matinee days, I was just a kid. There was not much to do at night. So on matinee days, between the matinee and the evening performance, I used to go around the corner to Hubert's Museum.
Is that what they had, the flea circus?
They had the flea circus, and they had a freak show. Now they don't call them freak shows, they call them very special people shows or something.
Right.
But, anyway, I got to know all these very special people very well. And,
Very special people shows.
Yeah. And there was one act I saw. This was a sort of sad story. I never told anybody before. But I was down at Hubert's Museum. I used to go every other week, and because they would change the bill every other week. And I was down there, and I'm watching the show. But then they had an extra show down there. This man came out, and he said, "Now we have an extra show here. This is an extra 50 cents." And he said, "We have the only living hermaphrodite on exhibition today." Now I'll change the name of the hermaphrodite.
All right.
We'll make her name Johnny Joanna or something. He said, "We have the only living hermaphrodite."
You don't have the last name of my wife?
Oh,
Joanna.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm
That's
changing the
okay.
name.
I mean,
that wasn't the name of this hermaphrodite. But
how about Sally Paul?
All right, Sally Paul. He said that we have the only living hermaphrodite on exhibition today, Sally Paul. And he said, this is an extra $50. He said, however, it's a law in New York State. He said that we cannot exhibit a real hermaphrodite in front of a mixed audience. So what we're going to do, as you come in, there will be a curtain and there will be a partition. I want all the men to stand on one side and all the women to stand on the other side, which was a lot of baloney. There were no women there. There were all a bunch of old degenerate guys, coming. So, but they say this to, make you excited and everything. Well, I was 16 years old, and I'm thinking, gee, this is unbelievable. A half man, half woman? I never heard of such a thing. So I went in, and I stand on the other side of the curtain with all these old guys, and all of a sudden this, what was Sally Paul?
Whatever.
Sally Paul comes out. And it stands on the stage, and it's dressed in this silly outfit. And Sally Paul had a very French accent. Anyway, he said, he came out like this, and he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, as you see on this side, I am a woman. I have no beard up here." And she said, "Up here," and she takes out this brassiere, and she says, "I have a beautiful breast," like this, and she does that. And she says, "My leg has no hair over here because I am half woman. However, over here," and she turns around, and the voice becomes very, "I am a man, and I have a beard, and I have no breast, and there is hair in my leg," and we're all And it comes out with this fantastic thing I couldn't believe. He said, "Now I will show you some pictures of my children." And they open up the thing, and there's these big posters of all these other hermaphrodites who this thing claims are the children of her, and claims that she had them with herself, or with herself. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, but you see,
I couldn't believe
there's a
it.
great advantage there.
Well, I leave I leave.
Because if you ever get divorced, you pay yourself alimony. You see.
I leave the place.
Weird.
I really know the way a kid is when you see something fascinating, it lingers with you for days, and I couldn't get over this Sally Paul, half man, half woman, having children with itself. And I was amazed, and I would think about it. Well, then about 2 weeks later, between matinees, I go to the New Amsterdam Theater, to the movie theater, between shows. And I'm sitting up in the theater. It was a real crummy theater and everything. I'm sitting up there. And all of a sudden, in the meantime, my father knew that I used to go to the movies in between shows.
Right.
And because he always worried, he said to me, he said, "Listen, Dick," I was 16 years old. I said, "I want to tell you, you can go to those movies if you want, but if anything ever happens, if you ever feel anybody get fresh or anything like that," he says, "don't get into a fight, don't yell." He said, "Just be very firm and just say very clearly and very firmly, 'Stop what you're doing.'" And he said, "They will do that, and they will go away, and that will be it. Don't make a big scene." Right. Well, I had always remembered, nothing had ever happened to me, but I always remember what my father said to do if anything did. Well, I'm sitting at the New Amsterdam Theater. All of a sudden, I'm watching the movie, and I feel a hand on my knee. So I remember what my father told me. Be very loud, very clear, get your hand off my knee. So, but before you do it, you're so shocked that you don't say it right away. So I'm just about to say that. I look around, and who do you think it is? Sally Paul, the hermaphrodite. I couldn't believe it. I can't yell to a star. I don't.
A star.
But I was so disillusioned. So I just got up and I left the theater. But anyway, I don't think Sally Paul was really a hermaphrodite.
You think that was a point? That's hysterical. That's a funny story. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. You're all in a good mood tonight, which is fine because George Miller is with us, and he's been with us several times. A young comedian with a very disarming style. He's appearing at the Ice House in Pasadena on April 16th, and at the Comedy Store in La Jolla on April the 29th. Would you welcome, please, George Miller.
Thank you very much. How are you tonight? Oh, I am too. Where y'all from? Oh, me too. What a coincidence. I never know how to start, so I thought I'd say that. No, as I've said many times before on the show, I am from Seattle, up in Washington, and I grew up in Seattle. I used to think of myself, I know I don't look like it, as Mr. Swinger, kind of a man about town. Yeah, well, in Seattle, that means you take a heavy dose of contact and then go out and drive and operate machinery. It's not really... I went to school in Seattle. I attended the University of Washington, a wonderful school. I majored in registration. And... Please, I don't want sympathy. Yeah, I was just there for 2 quarters, and then I had to leave. There was some confusion about a grade point average. But the kid I remember in college, I've talked about him before, I knew him all my life, was David Felch. And he was like, when he was in first grade, he was like 400 pounds. He's like 6 years old and weighed about 400. And you know how mean other kids can be? Fatty, 2x4, can't get through the kitchen door. Which is not only mean, it was also inaccurate. Obviously, been through the kitchen door thousands of times. So I see him again at the University of Washington. This time he's blossomed. He's like 600 pounds, and they were calling Believe It or Not and all that, you know. And then he went on one of those crash diets, and he lost, I think it was like 411 pounds in 1 year. Can you believe that? There's now a shopping center where his butt used to be. But anyway, after college, I came down to Los Angeles to try to break into show business, and it wasn't all easy. I was at the old Wellington Hotel in downtown Los Angeles for a while. Not the best place in the world. They had bugs. I mean, big bugs. I mean, while I was out, they changed the channel on the television set. Some big bugs, right. And But there were some tough people at that hotel. There were 3 guys. I think they were from a motorcycle gang. And I remember one time I was talking to this girl in the lobby of the hotel, and they embarrassed me in front of that girl. They humiliated me. One of them grabbed my hand, made me give myself the finger. It was really... The first meal I ever had in Los Angeles was at the Wellington Hotel coffee shop, and maybe this has happened to you people too. The special of the day was Swiss steak. Now, they brought it, and it turned out to be nothing but hamburger, so I complained. Now, every time it seems like I complain in a situation like that, the management always has a statement of policy, and they'll try to bluff you out with it, but don't let them do it, see. The guy comes over and he says, well, that's our Swiss steak. And I says, well, it's hamburger. And he repeats, well, that's our Swiss steak. So I got even. I paid the bill with a gum wrapper. I told him that was my money. Thank you. That was in what I call the old days, you know, and we were going around, this friend and I, to a lot of showcases and trying to get discovered, and I was trying to do impressions, which I never could do, so then I would do takeoffs instead of impressions on famous people, and I still do them once in a while, like, do you ever get the feeling that maybe sometime Tom Snyder will use up the whole Tomorrow Show with one question? It's like, how do you feel about this particular group of people? Do you like them? Do you root for them? Have you known them a long time? Do they keep in touch? Do they call you? Do you call them? Do they like buttermilk? Anyway, what we would do on those showcases, you would work for free and hope that somebody who could do you some good would come in to see you. And I remember quite a few years ago, a very well-known nightclub owner came to see me, and I really wanted to impress him. And I think it was Jack Ruby, I'm not sure. And anyway, just more recently, you're always on the lookout for people to spot you. More recently, there was a guy who's the producer from James at 16. He was in, and it was a little bit awkward talking with him because I'd only seen the show one time, and maybe you saw this particular episode. James had met this kid, and the kid had jet-set parents, so he's flying James all around, and they're staying at these posh hotels. And it's like they're teenagers, and they've got a lot of money, but they're not doing any drugs, see? That's to remind us that it's fiction. I first learned about drugs in Seattle in high school. We had a wonderful English teacher, Mr. Abrams, and then Mr. Abrams got hooked on downers, and after that he couldn't function. It was like I before E except after Reds. It was really... maybe you saw this recently. They were talking about this. There was a big murder trial in the East, and they figured that every member of the jury had been smoking marijuana because they deliberated for 6 days and found the defendant tall. So they were pretty sure that, but things have been better for me the last couple of years, and I just recently got a car. It's an XKE, which I think is a pretty good license number for a 65 Nova. But I really enjoyed telling you about it. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Let me do this commercial first, and we'll come back and talk. There we are. We're back. Talking with George Miller. As usual, you come up with some good, fresh insights there. That's nice to hear.
Thank you. Can I ask you a question that I
Sure,
forgot
ask
to
me
do
anything.
on the last show? I have to do this because it always wrinkles. I read this article. This was a few months ago, and I forgot to do this. Famous people who have changed their names in show business, they said that your name is really Johnny Carson,
That's
right?
true.
Okay. Now, they had some that I didn't know that, for instance, Tony Curtis used to be
Bernie Schwartz. That's right.
Cary Grant was
Archibald
Leach. Here's one I'll bet you don't know. The amazing Kreskin used to be the irritating Winslow.
That went through me. I would have lost on that.
I didn't know that.
The
I didn't know
irritating
anything.
Winslow.
He's still irritating, but now it's
Still
Kreskin,
irritating,
yeah.
but he's amazing. Oh, that's funny. George Miller obviously is your name. That's too American to say.
My real last name is Dornberger.
It is?
Yeah, Dornberger.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't really. Now, isn't John Denver's last name close to that?
Yeah, his is Dusseldorf or something like that, isn't it?
Dusseldorf or Dusseldorf? Well, Dusseldorf's a city, isn't it? Which used to be Burbank. They changed it from Dusseldorf to Burbank. Yeah. Things are going real good there for you.
Really, Paul Anka saw me on your show and took me with him into Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas.
That's
and
good.
it was a very, very nice engagement.
Yeah.
Got a pretty good review and stuff, so yeah, that was great.
When you're first starting, you're playing all the little places and the little clubs, and all of a sudden you're making $50, $75, and then all of a sudden the salary jumps very quickly.
I like it. Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
Have you? How do you handle that? Did you go out and buy something?
Well,
Say, hey, I finally can buy that watch. I want to buy that car, or whatever.
well, I'm still kind of wondering if it's going to keep up, so I've been
Yeah.
saving quite a bit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've been saving. Yeah.
Somebody said you bought some mail, or is that?
Oh, I brought a letter. Yeah, I
somebody
brought a letter.
mentioned that. I
Hang
don't know
on.
whether it's a fan letter or.
Oh, no, this is the thing. People, they always say, well, where do you get your material? I'm like you. Sometimes I look in the paper, and it just almost writes itself.
That's right.
And this is a thing. Dear Abby, a lady wrote into Dear Abby. This was about 2 weeks ago in the LA Times. Maybe you saw this. Dear Abby, a clever start. We have 2 sons. Both are married with lovely families. When we go to their homes, we don't see even one photograph of Dad and me in sight. We've gone to the trouble and expense of having our pictures taken at a good studio. We've even had them enlarged and framed, but apparently they are stored away in some closet. Am I wrong to feel hurt? And it's signed Hidden Pictures. She writes back, Dear Hidden, you should not feel hurt at all. No slight is intended here. You and Dad are probably both just extremely ugly. I made that part up.
You made up Dear
I made
Abby's
up-
answer,
yeah, I
yes.
made up-
Dear Abby's more
No,
diplomatic
she would
than
be
there.
nicer.
Yeah. Somebody said you were also, when you travel, I do this occasionally, you watch the game show things,
The games, I watch
Because they're
them.
getting more involved and more involved.
They are, and I can't, it is too involved for me, but what I always do, I like the little introductions that they give, because they always tell a little bit about each person.
Our first contestant today.
Who's
yes.
trying to win the money. It's like, our next contestant, Mr. Larry Adams, he's a masochistic bigot. Larry enjoys chicken fried steak and being thrown to the ground by Filipinos.
Just once, if they would do that, it would make it all worthwhile, wouldn't it? Some crazy. Can you hear Johnny Olson doing that? And enjoys being thrown to the ground. I should say a word about Monty Rock, who is scheduled tonight, but we ran a little long. But I would like to tell you where you may see Monty. He's going to make a personal appearance April the 9th at the Showcase 78, the Woodlake Inn in Sacramento, California. And he's going to be working at Rodney Dangerfield's place in New York, April the 21st through May 1st. So that's where Monty will be. Where are you headed, George? Any place?
I'm going to Pasadena at the Ice House and La Jolla Comedy Store.
Right.
And I have a dentist appointment.
Which you'll probably cancel, as we usually do. Dick, you're going to the chairman of the City of Hope tennis.
Right, I'm the honorary chairman of the City of Hope Tennis Tournament, April 15th and 16th. And it's for a wonderful cause. It's a free hospital out in Duarte, California, and it's mixed doubles. So anybody that wants to play tennis and have fun that weekend, please let us know.
Thanks for being with us again tonight.
Thank you.
Monday night, Rich Little will be here with Debbie Reynolds, Jimmy Walker, Fernando Lamas, Kathy Carlson, and Dr. Wayne Dyer. Isn't he the fellow who wrote Your Erroneous Zones? He will be here. And on our Best of Carson on Tuesday with Cloris Leachman, Don Rickles, Ella Fitzgerald, and Dr. Lennon Smith. Have a nice weekend. I'm humbled by that applause.